VRChat, a virtual space where people from all walks of life come together to create, explore, and engage. You could be communicating with Kermit the Frog, a roller coaster, a goth anime girl, or even a flea at any moment. And you can be any of those too. But within the world of VRChat, a well-known phenomenon that doesn't really have a solid explanation for its existence is mirror dwelling. To this day, many people still question the sanity of the individuals who partake in it, and wonder what could possibly possess the average person to sit in front of a mirror in a virtual world and just stare at themselves. I myself am an avid VRChat user who spends way too many hours in the game, and uses it as a method of interaction with the outside world, because truthfully, I have no life outside of content creation. So I figured I was perfectly situated to seek out these mirror dwellers and really get down to the actual reason why people spend hours per day staring at a mirror. Mirror dwelling can be defined as the act of sitting in front of a mirror in a virtual space. However, the definition is not very solid and is pretty decently flexible. It doesn't take many hours of playing VRChat and hopping public world to discover the mirror dwelling phenomenon. Just go to the Black Cat, Midnight Rooftop, or even Optimized Box, and you'll see at least one person in front of a mirror staring at their reflection. You might also notice these people are often using an e-boy or e-girl avatar. Some might be sitting, some dancing, or even sleeping, or passed out drunk. You never know what to expect when walking up to a mirror in a public world. Now, let me clarify that while I was researching to make this video, I saw that other people had also attempted to discuss the same topic. To put it bluntly, I felt that their methods were messy and tried to paint a narrative that wasn't exactly honest. Some examples of this that I have seen in some videos is stuff like going up to random people in public lobbies and harassing them for answers, going into the topic with their mind already made up, and making conclusions that don't really follow the evidence shown in the interviews. But hey, I get it. Mirror dwelling was a hot topic, and you gotta cash out on that sweet, sweet VRChat hate every few months. So, I decided to get an honest look into the VRChat mirror dwelling phenomenon. I went to multiple instances of the Black Cat, Midnight Rooftop, Optimized Box, and many other worlds in order to find people who would be willing to let me interview them. For the most part, people were friendly and were happy to be interviewed, while others got really aggressive and tried chasing myself and my two friends out of a world when we approached them for an interview. However, I feel there could have been a few factors that contributed to this, that I'll get into later. Remember, assumptions make for misunderstandings. Having said that, let's get into the interviews. What are your name and pronouns?
My name is Akaifua. My pronouns are she, her.
My name is Ecstasy, and my pronouns are she, her.
My name is Goose, he, him.
I'm Komodo, and I just go by he, him, usually.
My name's Lucky, Lucky Punk, and my pronouns are anything.
So my name is Mags, my pronouns are he, him.
My name is Skaith, my pronouns are he, him.
My name is Sammy, and I am he, him.
What up? My name is Yo-Yo, and I go by she, he, they.
Hi, my name's Yurei Tanto. I am she, her.
What is your trust rank in VRChat?
User.
I think I just recently got it up to user.
My rank is a user.
I'm trusted.
I believe it's user currently.
My trust rank, I am a trusted user. I've been playing this game for about 4 years.
I am a trusted user.
I have a couple accounts, and this is my most used one as of recent, so this one's trusted.
I believe I am trusted.
I believe I'm a new user still.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a Red Panda VTuber.
I'm just like the average femboy enjoyer, I guess. If you find me on Twitter, that's usually what I talk about.
Currently, I am actually in school, working to get my bachelor's degree in animal science.
Well, like I said earlier, I play Elden Ring. That's all I really do. I work kind of time. I'm doing on call right now, which it's annoying, but it's fine. It's money.
I'm a weightlifter, anime watcher, and game enjoyer.
I work for one of the biggest companies in the world as middle management. I am a longtime gamer. I build computers when I'm hot, when I'm bored, or sometimes drunk, sadly.
I used to be super big into shooters. Like, when I was younger, I used to be, like, kinda semi-pro. I used to do, like, tournaments and game battles and stuff, and for Call of Duty and Halo. I've been playing Rocket League. I'm not a big shooter guy anymore, because I get toxic when I play shooters. It's like an ego thing, and I was like, I don't like that. So, like, I play Rocket League. Like chill out, or like gacha games like Zenless Zone Zero came out, Wuthering Waves.
I am a full body dancer. I dance for I think it's 5 or 6 clubs now.
I am a Red Panda VTuber.
I stream casual games. I got into VRChat about, I don't know, a year and a half ago.
I want to be able to rehabilitate wildlife along with reaching out to domesticated animals if possible.
Yeah, there's not really too much to know, honestly. I'm kind of just 22. Obviously, I like playing VR.
No, I just really like using VR as like a social tool to just kind of like hang out with people and how do I put this? It's easier to approach people in VR, I guess what I'm trying to say. It's easy to meet people here.
I like coming on to VRChat to hang out with friends and meet other people.
Yeah, I'm typically a very introverted person, IRL, so I spend a lot of time on here because, I don't know, it's kind of nice being able to talk to somebody, and if I don't want to interact with that person, I can just walk away or leave the world or block them. It's not as easy in the real world, so.
I like to dance, but even though it's like the Magic Mike stuff, I still think I think it's fun. Even if people think it's cringe, I think it's fun. It's like a really good workout instead of like running on a treadmill, because like I like to do it just to vibe and stuff though too.
And I've started like making like avatars and stuff out of various assets that are available.
I have a immense love for learning new languages. One might even say that it goes into an addiction at some points.
I've been teaching myself Japanese for the past year or two. Because of that, I've been doing a lot of Japanese instances in VRChat, hanging out with those communities, trying my best to slowly learn. Not been doing very well at it. I don't have a lot of free time, so I can't spend a large amount of time doing it, but...
Kind of a quiet, laid-back guy, really.
I'm a lover of all things comfy, cozy, warm, and soft, which is kind of part of why I chose to be Red Panda.
I'm a little autistic and got lots of hobbies, so talk a lot and got lots of random things to talk about.
Why did you start playing VRChat?
I started when like first came out, like 2017, 2016, around there, and then I stopped.
I want to say it was around 2018.
I was here for the Ugandan Knuckles.
Honestly, I started playing VRChat, I would say a little over a year.
It was like 2017 or something like that, whenever the fuck the Ugandan Knuckles thing became a thing, and it like made VRChat like explode in popularity.
Back in 2017, I think it was.
I started playing VRChat just after I picked up my headset for the first time.
I see my brother playing it probably in 2017, I think it was, the Ugandan Knuckles stuff.
The same reason a lot of people started playing VRChat. I wasn't allowed to leave my house for a couple years there, so I decided to buy a VR headset, and that's where it started. I think I started the same week we were announced that there was lockdown. I was like, I'm gonna buy a headset.
Mostly because I'd seen a lot of people on YouTube playing it, namely Swagger Souls. So my first real look-in with VRChat was the YouTube kind of trolly, memey. Ugandan Knuckles was the big one.
Saw the Ugandan Knuckles stuff all over.
And I thought it just looked kind of funny, fun to play around with, so I figured I'd give it a try.
There was a YouTuber, I think it was called me Kevin, or he was like the one that got me like hooked on it or whatever. And from there I just kept watching YouTube. I got on playing desktop kind of back and forth, and I was like, yeah, I really want to get a VR headset now and really get into this. So I picked up an Oculus Rift, and ever since 2017 I've been on here.
At the time, my brother had the HTC Vive, and I was curious to try it out because he was like grabbing everybody in the family like, yo, fucking try this shit out. And so I would play VRChat every now and then in his room.
I initially started playing it because I saw a bunch of videos on YouTube about it.
I only started playing VRChat because I've seen a lot of people recently get into it, and I also have a huge fascination with virtual reality.
Eventually, when I was in 11th or 12th grade in high school and COVID happened, I started using VR a lot more, and I just went to my brother and was like, can I just like take the Vive because you're not using it? And he was like, sure, why not? I was like 17, 18 at the time.
So I've always been interested in VR, but VRChat in particular, I kind of liked the idea of having like an avatar that you could embody. when I first started playing, I hadn't come out as trans yet, so there was still that exploration period that I was kind of interested in.
So just being able to like get into like your own little persona without a lot of the real world judging you. You can just be your own person and kind of find people that are into the same thing as you.
I started playing it because, I mean, I'm a social person. That's what I like doing. I like to socialize, meet people. Sometimes it gets annoying because trolling, but you know.
I was interested in like kind of the social aspect of it.
My first experience getting into the VRChat was didn't have anyone to play it with, so I had no idea what anything was. Unfortunately, immediately found myself looking through the worlds and thinking, oh, the black cat, that looks cool. Immediate first experience. Oh yeah, that was unfortunate.
I love to talk and run my mouth a lot, more than I should probably. Initially, I was like, I was a deskie, so I was in that troll phase where I would just like run up, yell at people, and like, you know, scream insanities. And then one day I was thinking, I was like, wait, I can actually have conversations with people in here. This is actually nice. So I stopped all that. I mean, I do it every once in a while just for like shits and gigs, like relive glory days, deskie. But yeah, it's just the talking and meeting a bunch of different people from like different places and stuff is fun.
And after I played around with a bunch of friends, I realized it made me feel a lot closer to them. I had a deeper connection than just typing on a keyboard or even getting in a voice call. I could see them face to face almost.
VRChat literally saved my life. I was going through a divorce at the time. My depression, it was getting to the point that a bridge in Seattle was starting to look very appealing. It was right around Christmas time, so seasonal depression was even hitting in, and I was talking with a friend of mine. I said, you know, I really want to get into VRChat, but I don't have a headset. And he said, you know, you don't need a headset, right? And I went, really? Is that so? Okay, well, let's download it and see what's going on. Now been, what, 6 years? And I'm still here.
How long did it take you to start mirror dwelling?
So I didn't really start mirror dwelling until I started basically working on and creating my own avatars. I've been hanging out with a handful of friends in VRChat. I think that's kind of where the mirror dwelling kind of started.
It didn't take that long, depending on your definition of long. I think it was a month or two.
Honestly, that took me a long time because I am a person who actually likes to explore.
It didn't really take me long because, like, I just saw other people doing it, and then I was like, yes. Like, I just...
Really not very long. I want to say I started mirror dwelling only a few days after picking up VRChat.
Oh, instantly.
So my first experience of mirror dwelling was at the Great Pug, at that little tiny, 6-foot tall mirror. When I started mirror dwelling, I noticed that I could see exactly what my face was doing. It allowed me to know the facial expressions that I give to the people I'm around. And as time went on, I was like, okay, I need this now because this allows me to see what I'm doing to make sure I'm giving the correct vocal cues and the correct facial cues.
When I was new, pretty much immediately back then, it was like everyone was just only doing that. So it's not like I consciously made the decision to start. I was just hanging out with friends, and that's where they would stand, especially back then. And I just kind of became a learned thing,
Was mirror dwelling more common a few years ago?
I think so, and a lot of it has to do with the whole personal mirrors that we have now. I think that's the biggest thing that's kind of killed actual mirror dwelling, because I don't think people did it out of any particular joy of standing in front of a mirror. I think it was more of they like to see themselves.
When I first started playing VR, like desktop and like half body and shit, I didn't mirror dwell as much for like the first 5 hours that I was in VR, but then I always noticed that everybody was mirror dwelling, and it was basically the only way that I could start talking to people.
By myself, it's more or less just kind of testing out to see how the avatar looks and behaves, but there's a little bit more to it whenever you're with more people, I think.
I only do it if it's late at night, there's nothing to do, I kind of want to relax, or if my friends are doing it, because I don't want to leave them behind, I like joined off of their world. When they're mirror dwelling, I switch rooms. I try to interact with people, and then I'll like come back.
I just did it because a lot of the friends I met did it really, and you know, we all make jokes about it, but then again, it's just we're in a group. It don't matter. We're all just hanging out. So
When I first got into it, and I think that's what a lot of people do, it's the idea of you're in a virtual world and the immersion is second to none. You know, when you first put on a headset, it's just wow. You know, you're looking down and you're in a body that's not yours. You know, so looking at it in a mirror and being able to poke your face and do all that was really interesting. And then a lot of the people I end up talking to, they just sit in front of mirrors too. So it's just kind of.
It's funny because like I didn't do it before because I thought it was like cringe at first, and I was like, wait, this is actually pretty chill. Like especially if you're with a bunch of friends and you're just listening to music. Plus, since I'm kind of a dancer, it's like I look and it's easier to see myself dancing in the mirror and like, what am I doing? What do I need to work on and stuff like that. So, but it's like chill overall. I just love doing it because it's just a vibe.
So I just started mirror dwelling because everybody else is doing it, and I was able to, it was easier for me to like talk to people, I guess. I felt like the mirror dweller people were a little bit more like similar to me, like personality wise, I guess, if that makes sense. I figured that I got along with the mirror dweller people more than the like not mirror dweller people, I guess. So I started making friends, and all these people mirror dwelled like all the time. We would be hanging out in VR, we would just be staring at a mirror. I want to say like 1/3 of the amount of time I've been in VR I have like spent mirror dwelling for the most part.
So, why do you mirror dwell?
Honestly, it's like I mentioned before, it's kind of like a late at night type of ordeal, or like friends are in front of the mirror. Me personally, I prefer to like play games like Among Us or just explore worlds that, you know, would be considered probably prettier in PC.
I just checking out my model and talking to people. Check out my model and talking to people. Yeah, I don't really so much do it as much anymore. I definitely kind of grew out of it. But
Do you think that it helps you talk with people?
it can, I guess, because you know we don't have the physical feel in VR. So you know, reaching over and touching somebody. Well, when you're looking at a mirror, I don't know, it kind of makes it easier. I don't know how to put it. It's like almost like a third person thing. It's just kind of a tool, really. Just an extra thing to utilize.
Having to whiplash yourself every other opportunity you get. And I just think it's better, honestly, because like you're just in one tiny little, you're not like in a big circle, or you know, just it's not as crowded. And I feel like a lot more people just like it that way, not in such a big group.
Why do I mirror dwell? I think the reason why I mirror dwell, to kind of like piggyback off of like what I was saying before, it started mainly just with like, this is where everybody's at. I mesh well with these people. It's easier to engage with people, especially after I got my full body tracking.
I think with like a circle, you don't get as many interactions usually in some cases, depending on what you're talking about.
Do you think that anxiety plays in a little bit to why you mirror dwell?
Maybe, because like with me, it's usually like if there's just a lot of people in one room, I just get a little shaky, and then I just can't really talk. I had to leave. But with mirrors, it helps, I guess, a little bit, just to see my surroundings and gauge if I need to leave or not.
My thought of like why I tend to like the idea of mirror dwelling is when you're sitting in real life with a group of people, you tend to through various visual cues with your peripheral vision, with sounds that are being made, with interactions with the environment, you know that their presence and more what's going on in the environment. But in VR, there's like a filter in place where a lot of those sounds are cut out, because, you know, when you move your feet, you're not shuffling on the carpet. When you brush against the couch, you're not making those like micro interactions that let you know, like, you know, I might be bored and be fidgeting, and that's not as noticeable in VR. So when you have like a mirror up in front of you, you can, that's kind of like it's a helpful tool to help you know like what is going on with the other people around you, like how they might be feeling or how they might be interacting. So that's part of it.
Usually for me, it's literally like 12, 1 in the morning. I am a parent of a coming up on 1-year-old, so I'm usually just dwelling at night so that I'm not being too noisy. I don't want to get into the whole like horror games or anything like that where I'm screaming my head off. And I'm just, I did that one time by accident, and I'm just like, crap. It's just like stirring, and I'm just like, I muted myself, put the headset down, and everybody's like, where did Ecstasy go? And I'm just like, I'm still here, just hold on.
The original group I used to hang out with when I first found a group in VRChat, one of them was a mirror dweller. Then we often found ourselves hanging around in front of mirrors and things. So that's how it started.
Well, for me, it's mostly to like keep an eye on my own avatar and see how things are going. Like, I don't want to be walking around with like something clipping or tracking improperly. Like, the way I see it is like you spend so much time or money on your avatar that you want to make sure it looks good for people. I don't want something happening like all of a sudden, you know, my foot is sticking straight up for some weird reason. Like, that would bother me.
If I had the opportunity to kind of hang out in front of a mirror in real life, I probably would, because personally I have a hard time kind of gauging my own expressions and like body language. I am very poor at doing facial expressions or really expressing my emotions. Kind of came from a young age when that was very much frowned upon, like being expressive and emotional was bad. You don't want to do that. You want to be as backgrounding, as much as part of the background as possible. For me, it's kind of a tool to help me like express myself and know, like, you know, puppet my expressions on the avatar, you know, more than I would be able to in real life.
I find it nice to be able to see my avatar because I feel like somewhere on VRChat and online you can represent yourself in a way that you feel better in. For me, like this, I feel more comfortable looking like this than I do in person, so I think that's why.
So, the easy statement for that is because of autism, or not being able to know exactly what my facial expression gives for the social cues involved. It makes it much more difficult to communicate correctly. Like, if I'm smiling or if I laugh, I need to make sure that I'm actually laughing, you know? Or if something's irritating or I don't understand it, I can give it a good face. But if I can't see myself, how do I know I'm doing it?
Being able to see my expressions more properly, because I'm not very good at the whole hand thing, so I want to make sure I'm doing it correctly at all times. It's more of self-monitoring than anything else. It is nice to see other people, but I usually kind of like just kind of laser focus on myself, see how I'm standing, see what I'm doing.
It's me, but it's not me. You feel me? I think it's that thing, and the perspective that I get that it's somebody else, but it's still me at the same time is interesting. You feel me? No, like, I could dress like this IRL, but my face, you know, I'm not a bad looking person. It's not like this, you know? So I'm just like, it's interesting to see someone else on my face. You feel me? So I just like to stare at it in the mirror, honestly. Yeah.
Do you feel like it's like a bit like an escape from your IRL self or your IRL responsibilities?
I do. I love myself, honestly, IRL. But I wouldn't say it's escape. Like, I love partying, and like I hate getting dressed up to like go to a bar or club or stuff. It's so much effort. So I do it once in like a blue moon. But here it's super easy. I can go in my basketball shorts and a t-shirt and then just change whatever I want in the avatar. It makes it super easy.
I think starting out as well, the static personal mirror also helped me a bit with motion sickness. Because before it was a feature, I used the mod version before they took mods away from us. So I actually stopped playing until they added the real version because I couldn't really play the game without it. I was so used to it that I stopped when they took out the mods, and when the real version came out I was excited, so I came back.
Mirror dwelling was like all I could do because my tracking sucked ass, because like my base stations were kind of fucked up, and I didn't really know where to put the trackers on my body so that they could be like constantly detected. So my full eye tracking chugged, and and I wasn't able to, like, every time I would get up and move around, something would break. The only way that I could get my whole body to work was if I was just sitting down or laying down in bed. So that was most of it, because when I did get full body tracking, I did want to start dancing, but I didn't because my tracking sucked. Recently, like a few months ago now, when I started playing VR again, I started dancing. I just mirror dwell because every time I get in VR at this point, I am dancing. And so it's basically like practice, I guess. It's like I'm able to like see what I'm doing and also talk to people at the same time.
I'm also kind of a bit of a wallflower. I'm kind of quiet, wallflowery kind of person, so mirror dwelling in public worlds, I can kind of just listen in here and there from all the different groups around. I can kind of do it in secret, like from the corner, because it always feels so weird. Because there's so, like, everyone's got their own little groups in VRChat, I find a lot of the time, and it feels weird to just go over to a random group, like, oh, hey, out of nowhere. I'm too anxious for that.
You know, I've heard mirror dwelling as kind of like a negative connotation, but I haven't like looked into it too much. Oh yeah, I wouldn't view it as antisocial at all. If anything, it's, at least on my headset, you know, my peripheral vision is basically non-existent. So with a mirror, I'm more easily able to see kind of what's going on in the corners of my eyes.
First and foremost, if I'm with a bunch of other people, it does help me see them a lot easier. Instead of having to get motion sick by switching back and forth with my head, I can just look in the peripheral and see everybody at the same time.
If someone's at my chest level or in a small avatar, I cannot see them. I have to look down, and even then, you know, some of us have rock a bit of a father figure. It makes it more difficult to actually stop and look at them. If we have the mirror in our way right there, I'm not looking at them. I can look at their mirror, I can look at their reflection, which still gives me the simulated eye contact.
Do you feel like it might be partially like an immersion thing?
Yes, because immersion is very, very big in VR. That's why I always say, like, never go backwards. Sadly, you know, when you go desktop, half body, full body, as soon as you hit each step of those, you don't want to go backwards to what it was. You want that immersion. And you need your feet, you need your hands, you need everything. And I miss that. I'm lacking right now. I miss my legs. I miss my thingy.
I have pretty strong phantom sense, so when I look in a mirror, it helps to actually put myself in the body that I'm wearing. I guess a lesser reason would be because it makes people angry, and I'm a cat, a little gremlin.
If VR headsets had a wider FOV, do you think that you would mirror dwell nearly as much?
I'd probably still mirror dwell about the same, but the same amount or not.
Yeah, I think I would still do it. Probably the same amount, honestly.
I think if anything, it'd make it way more, maybe immersive.
Honestly, I'm not sure. I guess it's just not something that would really, like, be affected by either way.
I don't think the FOV has anything to do with it. I have an index, so I'm not sure what my FOV even is, but it's always served me as wide enough, I guess. I'm not sure what a wider field of view would even really do.
I don't think it would be as frequent, but there's still some cases where I would need to mirror dwell. It would definitely help, though.
It probably wouldn't be as much, but like I said before, I think there's still some of those micro interactions with the environment that you're losing out on.
No, I mean, I think it's more than just FOV, though. The FOV definitely would help. A lot of these worlds, they'd have nothing but a mirror.
I'm not too sure. I mean, probably not, because, like, there's more to see. So, like, when it's the end of the night and, you know, you kind of want to talk to people, you know, instead of just, like, turning your whole body around, like, a 360 just to find somebody. Yeah, like, I'm usually turning around, I'm just like, oh, hi, stranger, or, like, if the mirror isn't on because I'm just sitting next to a friend chatting with them and somebody's talking to me, I have to, like, figure out of the 6,000 people behind me who is talking to me, and I'm like, oh, hi.
That's a tough one, because I feel like with the current FOV, we get a little bit, but if, say, someone comes up closer to you, like almost chest height or on the side, they are immediately in your blind spot. You have no way of looking at them. So you can't look at both yourself and the mirror to make sure that things work. But if I think the bigger companies took that into consideration, I think that would really play into things.
Yeah, I do it way more often. I'm just like more than I already do, and I pretty much have a mirror. Like right now, I got a mirror up. I'm like looking at myself. I gotta make sure my tracking's working right and stuff, and I look kawaii.
Do you think that others should also mirror dwell?
I don't think it's like you should or you shouldn't. I think if you want to, you should. You shouldn't look down on somebody or like be like make the decision of like you shouldn't do it. Like I said, I've heard of like this negative kind of connotation with mirror dwellers. So I don't necessarily think that people should or shouldn't. I think they should give it a try at the very least, because I was hesitant to try it out first because, you know, I was heard like, oh, you don't want to be one of those mirror dwellers.
I think so, because like I said, it's just a good way to make friends and meet people. Like usually in worlds, there's like 10 to 15 people just sitting in front of a mirror. I don't know. It's what they want to do. And hey, if no one's at the mirror, that just means more mirrors for me and my buddies. So
No. The reason being is a lot of people can get really sucked into it.
Honestly, no. It can be very addicting to. It's like anytime a friend asks me what VRChat is, I'm just like, stay away. It's a bad addiction. Run while you can. It takes over everything. Like I want to play other games, then I want to get on here and like chill on full body or like dance and talk to people.
It can help kind of breed some narcissism in people in a way. I've seen it where people start mirror dwelling and they just get this really weird attitude about things, you know, and they get, I don't know how to put it exactly, but it just, it for some people it can just really mess with their heads. I mean, VR in the first place is already kind of like still a new frontier, you know, and it does things with people's heads in a way. And, you know, honestly, I think people need to self-reflect a little bit and make sure they're not doing unhealthy things.
Honestly, no. I wouldn't want people to just like. That's like that's everyone's first thing when they come to VRChat. Oh, is everyone by the mirrors? I'm gonna go over there, and they just get into it. And they're like, I'm gonna stand here for hours. Don't do it. It's bad. It's bad. Don't do it.
It's kind of a difficult one to answer. Like, I don't think it would hurt anyone to do it, but then I also understand why people don't. Like, I understand why it doesn't appeal to people, but I think it's something people should try before judging mirror dwellers, looking at them and just thinking they're kind of weird and not understanding. I feel like if you were to try it once or twice, then maybe people would kind of begin to understand a bit more why we do it.
I mean, it's up to you. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. I don't care what other people do. I do what I want to do. I've never cared what other people do. I would never recommend for or against it. I mean,
if it's something that you like to do or that you think that you would like, then yeah, like I don't really think that there's like one particular like specific way to enjoy VR or VRChat. So it's like if you want to mirror dwell, like go ahead and do it. I'm sure there'll be a lot of cool people that you'll meet and hang out with. Otherwise, I mean, it's just personal preference. If you want to, go ahead. But if not, if you're not interested in it, then you don't have to. Like, it's up to the person, I guess.
I think it comes down to necessity. If you feel like you need to mirror dwell to see other people or get better immersed, then absolutely go for it.
You know, on that one, I cannot tell someone yes or no, because it's to that person's own decision. You know, I can't judge someone for mirror dwelling. I can't judge someone for non-mirror dwelling. All that I ask is, because of proximity issues, that you give me a little bit of space so I can see your face and gauge on what I need to do if I'm in the mirror.
it's something that you're probably just going to end up doing because other people are doing it anyway. It's pretty ubiquitous. Not as much these days, but, you know, eventually it'll happen. And then if you like it, you'll notice you'll like it.
If it's their quiet time like me, yes. But at the same time, I personally don't think they should, because it's virtual reality. If you want to go bungee jumping, skydiving without actually having to do the danger, go ahead and do it. If there's a game that you play on an Xbox, PC, whatever, VRChat is now the time to find something close to it, if not it exactly. Go put yourself in the game.
What leads to mirror dwelling? Do you sit in front of a mirror and wait for others to join? Do you join others in front of a mirror? Or do conversations just typically lead to a mirror?
A little bit of both, I guess, for myself. I have no problem hanging out in a mirror by myself. Like, I'll listen to my music, I've got Spotify going in the background, or I'll have YouTube going on, and just enjoy, whatever I'm listening to, and should more people join in, hey, even better, more the merrier.
If you're just having a long conversation, you're not like playing a game or doing a bunch of exploring, then usually it's conversations that lead to it.
So I don't tend to just join like public worlds like by myself and like try to find people to interact with. Usually I'll find like one or two friends and either like join a private world, or maybe we'll go explore some public ones. But generally, whenever I'm in VRChat, it's with a group of friends or a prearranged group of people meeting up in VRChat.
I like to kind of start in areas that have like 3 to 4 people in them, usually like 4+ people in them.
I don't tend to like just finding random groups of people. I'm pretty shy, so even in like real life, like I was never a fan of like going to the bars and just finding people to hang out with.
Generally for me, especially as of recent, where I've been more on my own, haven't really had a group for a little while now, I tend to just gravitate towards a mirror in a world when it's there. I usually tend to gravitate towards worlds with mirrors.
For me, it was more like joining off of friends and they just happen to be mirror dwelling. Yeah, for some people, they're just there to relax. For other people, they just happen to get caught in the crossfire, whether or not they're listening to the conversation, and kind of just put in their 2 cents, and then it just goes back and forth.
And then I'll either pick up in a conversation with someone else that someone's already having, maybe. Sometimes I'll kick up a conversation with someone else who might be mirror dwelling or around being quiet.
I mean, the experience is like super different, because I have had nights where I started by myself in front of a mirror or with like 1 or 2 other people, and then the room was packed by like 30 minutes later. But I've also had nights where I'll just be sitting or like dancing in front of a mirror, and like sometimes people like, by myself, and like sometimes I get like 1 or 2 people like rotating in, but then they don't really stay.
Usually it's I walk up to a friend to talk to them, they're already there, or I walk up to random people and I just start talking about random stuff or jump in the middle of their conversation. I never really go by myself, though.
So usually, yeah, all 3 I would agree with, because like, I usually stand there to like dance, and if people come up, that's cool too. I don't like to chat them up, ask them where they're from and stuff. But yeah, most of the time, friends are already at the mirror, so I gravitate to it pretty easily when it's literally first thing. If not, we're not standing in it at a mirror, I'm already gonna have one out regardless.
Alternatively, if I am feeling a little bit socially lacking, I'll go and world hop, and I'll jump on those mirrors, and I'll listen in, like, oh, well, is this conversation good? This is not good. And if the conversation is good, I'm going to listen in, I'm going to chat.
I've had a lot of people, both Japanese and English, who would just sit in front of a mirror and talk to the mirror version of you instead of the actual you. And I don't know why that is, but it is really common. So I think it just sort of happens if a group is doing it, you just sort of join in. If you were to be the one person in a group of people in front of a mirror that would stand in everyone's way looking at people, you would kind of stand out. So kind of like a circular problem, I guess you could say. I don't know if it's an actual problem, but dwelling creates more dwelling. Yeah, I don't even understand that. How is that a problem? I mean, I can understand people who think it's like boring to be in the same spots of maps all the time. That makes sense, but
Sometimes if there's a world you can find that adds a common theme that you can like interact with, but those are kind of hard to find, I feel like.
Whenever I get in VR, I usually immediately try and search for mirrors that already kind of have people there. But I mean, sometimes, every now and then, if I'm feeling it, then I don't particularly mind just doing it myself and then waiting for people to come, or doing it by myself and then waiting for people to come to me.
I know when I join a world with friends and we're vibing, we're chilling. The first thing we do is we go and look for a mirror so that we can, talk to each other and hang out. A lot of times we'll look for a transparent one specifically so that we can see the video playing on the other side of it, or if there's any other people coming in, we can see them coming in.
I mean, with my friends, we usually just hoard it to a mirror and then just sit there and wait and just talk. Like, it's not even like we have to lead it. If there is one, like, oh, hey guys, it's a mirror. And then I just see all of them flood to it. It's not even, like, it's a force of habit with us. Yeah. Like, oh, a mirror? All right,
Have you ever started a pile in front of a mirror?
Oh, heck yeah.
No.
Definitely.
Oh no, I don't think I've done that.
Oh my god, yeah. Yes. Holy shit.
I have not.
No, I can't recall the time I ever did. No, wait, no, maybe. No, yeah, I was at a Great Pug before and I was checking the calibration of my model, and then like a whole group of people just ran up and started blabbering on about random stuff. Blasting music, yeah.
I think the most I've had in front of a mirror at a time is 3, including myself. Yeah, usually I'm the one that starts it.
Yes. About with like 15 to 20 people. Yeah, this is back when I didn't have much anxiety when I first started playing, but let's just say my ears and everything else didn't like it as much. Because it was loud. There were so many people. It was so bad. I would not do it again.
I think that my record was like 8 people within the first minute that I joined the instance.
Yeah, you saw me in a whole gaggle of folks. Those runs are always fun. I like when you get like the bigger and bigger teams coming in.
I'm a very loud person, so a lot of people in VR generally tend to like gravitate towards me because I'm being loud all the time, which is fine. I love it. I love meeting new people, making new friends and stuff. So yeah, the friend maker.
Usually, like if there's people I know that are already in front of like a mirror, I'd much rather join them than trying to bring them over to me. Like if there's at least one person I know, I'm usually comfortable enough to like join a group. It's kind of like how I am in real life as well. It's either one person I know, or maybe I overhear a topic I can jump in on, and we can talk about something.
I see them laughing and they'll come in, but I've never started one myself.
Well, that's what I would consider mirror dueling to actually be. I mean, people are piling up. I do exercise stuff with the Japanese community called VRChat Trolling, which is basically just radio exercises. And there's a mirror there that everybody piles up on daily, and that's how all the organizers talk. And they've been doing it for like 7 years, so they're just like, stuck into it. So like obviously, if you talk there, you partake in it because that's where everybody is. It's not like, it's just a daily thing, and everyone's so used to it. Like I've never gone to I don't go to public worlds pretty much ever. So I've never gone somewhere and sat alone waiting for people to join me. But if I join friends and they're all hanging out in front of a mirror, I'll go there. If I join friends and they're standing in front of a pool table, I'll go there. But I personally have the personal mirror because of the reasons I like it.
If anybody catches me, I'm usually looking for new avatars to explore, different worlds. I might be playing a game. Usually if I just want to be by myself, I'll definitely put myself on invite or ask or something like that. But I'm usually bouncing between worlds.
Let's say you explore everything that there is to explore, right? And at some point, maybe years down the line, you're still playing VRChat, but you've kind of gotten bored of all the exploration. Do you think you'd be mirror dwelling like your friends do? Or do you think you'd still be trying to find more things to explore, even if there's not much to show?
I'd probably still be trying to find something because it's VRChat. People are always uploading something. They're still updating worlds or just adding little small things to it. And there's even small worlds that nobody really knows about that you can still explore. I ended up finding a small little world where it's literally like a pool. It's a small world. You're in a pool and you can literally just throw rubber duckies into a separate pool. And then if you push them, it feeds back through a pipe. It's simple, but it's entertaining for people that have ADHD or if they just want to just throw rubber duckies.
Why do you think there might be a stigma against mirror dwellers?
I'm glad it's why and not is there, because there definitely is a stigma.
I think there's a stigma against mirror dwellers because people just assume if you're not doing anything, you're just immediately boring.
Well, I think the people who are against it aren't particularly against you doing it like with your friends. They don't think anything's bad about it. I think they just don't like if they go to a space and everyone's always in the same spot. Like they have this whole world to go explore and they just sit in front of this one space. I think in the old days that was really common. Now that we have personal mirrors, not so much. A little bit here and there, but I don't know. Do people still like have a hatred for it? Because as a person who only hangs out with friends, I never really run into that too much.
I think it's just with what is said in mirrors, because I know people, some of them have literally no filter. And then some people just hear people talking about some random heinous thing in front of a mirror and they're like, oh, they're mirror dwellers. Yikes. Like
I would say, like I was talking about, kind of the unhealthy behaviors, the attitude a lot of people end up gaining from doing something like that, being so absorbed into their avatar and their mirror.
I don't know. I think it's like a lot of people, I guess they don't see it in a positive light, especially, a lot of like desky trolls and stuff like that. They think it's cringe and stuff. And I'm like, honestly, to each their own. People like what they like,
And then they get into this tight little group of like 4 or 5 people. And instead of like, okay, if you only want to talk to those few people and in that group, instead of going to a private world to just hang out with those people, they come into a public instance and then, well, it's a public instance. Of course, people are going to come up and talk to you, right? But then they, will snap back at people and have some kind of attitude like, get out of here. We don't know you. We don't like you. Whatever. It's like, okay, well, go to a private world then. It's just kind of this weird attitude.
I think the stigma is people who just look in mirrors all day, usually seen as egotistical. That's part of it. They see it as, well, I just want to look at myself in a mirror all day. When in VR chat versus real life, it's completely different reasons.
Even if it is your own little space, nobody knows what's going through your mind. And if you just want to see your online friends sit in a mirror, have a conversation, talk some personal shit out, that's you. That's not somebody else. They just immediately judge you because of what you're physically doing at that moment.
Like VRChat it's a social game, really, and I think, in my experience, a lot of mirror dwellers, myself included, are normally pretty quiet. We kind of just sit there, don't really say too much a lot of the time.
It's probably because people hear other people just saying random crap and not even them knowing the context. Like, it could be a fledged conversation about people just saying what they like, and then they hear one little thing and they're like, oh my god, are there mirror dwellers? There must be, because I'm talking about some weird stuff over there,
So I think it's a little bit that of like, people think it's a bit strange to be playing a social game and then sit in the corner in front of a mirror, not talking to anyone. But I think it also comes from the same, like, real life kind of stigma people bring in, where it's like, the weird kid sits in the, like, the weird, like, emo kid that sits in the back of the class, which was always me, that no one really wants to talk to because he just looks a little bit sketchy. I think people bring that same kind of stigma into here.
Some hate it, some don't, understandably so. It's just, I think it's just an ignorance thing. Like, they haven't done it and they don't understand because they haven't had good interactions with it.
This is, I'm not sure how to explain it. It's definitely something that, like, might be, like, debatable. Like, this is something that I think is a fact, and I'm willing to have my mind changed on it and shit like that. But I feel like a lot of the stigma kind of comes from, like, brand new users, like desktop visitors, half-body people, like really new half-body people.
I think it's that people think that they have to move around or do activities. Like, I bought this very expensive piece of equipment, I have to put it to good use, or I have to go do all these different games. Where some of us realize that this is not a game, it's a social platform. It's just the next iteration of chat rooms that used to be around.
I noticed that usually, the less time you have in VR, the more you're like, why the fuck do you guys spend thousands of dollars on this shit just to sit down in front of a mirror for 8 hours? I understand that. Like, I'm pretty sure that I even had the same the same like mindset when I first started playing VR. When I was under like 5 hours, I was always like, why do people like, or I was not always, but I remember being like, why do people do this? Like, why spend all this money just to sit in front of a mirror and not do anything?
Well, we're here to talk. We're here to hang out and have fun, but we don't want to get up and do stuff. Mirrors give us that opportunity to kind of just vibe out, and some folks just don't understand that or refuse to understand it.
So I think that the stigma just kind of comes from brand new users who kind of haven't really like delved into the community that extensively. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. And I'm also not saying that they're not wrong for thinking that, because it is kind of ridiculous that we'd spend all this money just to fucking sit in a virtual room.
I guess if I had to think of, the only thing that really comes to my mind is that it's kind of limiting people to a specific spot in the VRChat world. A lot of worlds will have specific mirrors placed in areas, and that might cause people to gravitate only to those areas, even if there's like other really cool spots that the creator has set up. Maybe it's just a thought that the people aren't utilizing the worlds to their, fullest potential.
And it's also the people that go and do it in public spaces. Sometimes it can be disruptive to the instance. Like if you're playing Cards Against Humanity, for example, there's a world for that. And if a bunch of people are just over in the mirror, then there's nobody in the instance playing the game, and it can actually like cause a traffic jam of sorts.
I feel like a lot of the worlds with mirrors tend to be like hangout worlds. So, there's a lot of them will have areas of exploration, but if I just want to hang out, whether it's on a couch or whether it's in front of a mirror that's in a group of beanbags, I don't really see too much of a difference, because I'm probably just gonna like set up shop in one area and just kind of chill.
I think it's like one of those situations where it's an easy to see thing about a person. So if you want to just be a pain in the ass, you'll go straight for that as the first thing you insult them about.
I think that it's something that, like I said, it's something that you just kind of like grow out of, like the longer that you that you're in VR, and you just kind of like understand it a little bit better when you're able to talk to more people, I guess.
But I think it's a good friend maker, all in all. Honestly, I tell everyone, like, no hate, all positivity. Let's just have a good time,
Do you think that VRChat trolling has led to mirror dwellers being less trusting of people approaching them?
Depending on who is trolling and to the extent, I think so, yes.
So I haven't run into any of that myself, probably because like I tend to avoid some of the larger public worlds.
That's a interesting question, because I feel like that's probably the most divisive question you've asked. Honestly, yeah, I feel like people probably have a lot of differing opinions on that. Probably, maybe, unless you've done the work. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I could see how that would be the case. Me personally, I have not had any experiences like that. Probably because most of the time I'm in private instances, but even when I am in public instances doing it, I've not really had any negative experiences with that, so I can't talk about it personally.
I could see that too. It definitely can go both ways.
Personally, for me, I have visitors and new users' voices and avatars turned off in general, just because a lot of like visitors and new users are kind of like trolly and shit like that. If there's a visitor that's cool, and is just normal, then I'll notice, oh, everybody else here is talking to them and they sound fine, so I just unmute them. So it's not like a thing where I am also muting people that are genuine. But
a lot of people not knowing what a block or a mute button is too, just like, or walking away, going to a private world is a mix of things. Real easy things to fix, but monumental, I guess, for those people.
I mean, I guess I really don't think that it's a mirror troller thing or a troll thing. Like, I think it's just a individual person thing.
But I could definitely see it leading to possibly a couple different things. Either people not wanting to be in those public worlds?
It definitely doesn't help with some people. I wouldn't say it's a huge contributing factor in of itself. I think there's other things there too, at least for a lot of people. But I definitely don't think it helps. It definitely doesn't help me none.
But also, kind of like whenever you're harassed in real life for something that you enjoy doing, sometimes you just repress that and then you just put on that public face and you don't do what you enjoy doing, and then you do what the public thinks is correct. So I think, you know, what some of these trolls might lead to is just people being less happy and not doing what they want to do, and now they're doing what is considered the status quo.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've met a few people that don't want to talk to people just because they've been like messed with so much while they're like mirror dwelling and stuff. They like close themselves off and they're like, I don't want to really talk to anyone right now. And I was like, oh, that's kind of sad, man. But you know, I can't force anyone to do anything they don't want to. You know.
I have experienced like third party listening to trollers kind of like harassing people, or just even coming up saying racial slurs and then just leaving. So that could definitely lead to private world mirror dwelling, or even just leaving that world specifically. Especially, it's a lot in furry worlds. I realize that people who aren't furries, or if they are furries, they'll still go into that world, throw racial slurs and start harassing people, and then just leave. Or they'll stay there for hours and just continue to harass everybody. And I'm not too sure why, but like,
I would say kind of most likely, but then again, it's just based on like who you're around and if you're in a place like the Black Cat. Black Cat is notorious for trolls, I've noticed. It doesn't matter where you go. It just really depends. It just depends on who's in the world too. I mean, you know. I
think trolling in general makes people less trusting about everyone, no matter what they do. I'm not sure if mirror dwelling is anything different. Like I said, I don't really go to Publix too much, or pretty much never, so I can't really speak for what those people go through. I'm always with friends, so I don't really have to deal with many trolls pretty much ever on VRChat. I do know it's a pretty big thing, but it hasn't really affected me very much, so I can't comment too well on it.
I've walked into rooms where I've been like flat out ignored by all the other mirror dwellers around me. And like when I'm trying to like actively engage in a conversation with them, I mean, and I've also had situations where I'm like immediately like welcomed into a little group of people in a public instance, and I've had the same two types of situations with like new users. So I think it really just is an individualized thing.
And do you think there's like a way that you recommend people to approach mirror dwellers that maybe doesn't come across as like too, you know, that would be a little more welcoming than just being like, you know, coming off as a troll, I suppose?
Whenever I go to public instances to like dance and mirror dwell and shit, usually I'm just like, hey, oh, like, what the fuck is going on, people? Like, how you guys doing? And shit like that. I just kind of, like, start with, like, the pleasantries and shit. Just like, yo, like, what's up? Like, how you guys doing? And sometimes people talk and sometimes people don't. And whenever they do talk, then we'll start talking a little bit. And then, you know, it just goes from there. Or if they're not talking, then I usually don't, like, press it. I'm just like, okay, well, the chat's quiet today. So I'm gonna just gonna like focus on what I usually do, and then I'll talk a little bit every now and then, periodically, in case anybody wants to respond. Usually in instances like that, I'll have to actually walk up to somebody and like actively be like, hey, you, what's up? Sometimes they'll respond. Most of the time people do respond, whether they're mute or not, just because, like, you know, VRChat is a social game, and I feel like people wouldn't be in Publix if they didn't want to either, like, at least observe or interact with people. That's kind of how I think about it, and why I feel like I'm so extroverted in VR rather than in real life. Because it's so much easier to approach people in VR, because, you know, everybody's kind of here for, like, the same reason. At least most of the time they are.
Any final thoughts or anything that you want people to know about mirror dwelling?
Yeah, I would just say, like, you know, think about whenever you're, you know, in real life and you're hanging out with a bunch of friends at a party or at a group event. You know, what are you going to do? Are you going to, walk around a lot of different areas, or are you kind of just going to, chill with your group and maybe pop around to a couple different groups?
If you're not going to be welcoming in front of a public mirror, then just go to your own world and mirror dwell there. Like, I don't that sounds like a them problem.
Like I said before, self-evaluate. Don't make an unhealthy habit out of it, and go explore. That's what makes this game awesome, is you can go to places that you can't go in the real world, or you can even go to places that are in the real world that you can't afford to go to. There's endless things you can go do here. I mean, it's all community made, so I mean, the sky's the limit. If you look enough, there's all kinds of cool stuff. Go around, explore, quit standing in front of a mirror.
Yeah, I mean, one I've heard a lot is that pretty much everyone that mirror dwells is kind of mentally ill in some way, and it's really not the case.
Honestly, mirror dwelling, just have fun with it. That's all it is. I like it just to vibe out and have a good time. I mean, not a lot of people. I guess maybe it's escapism for a lot of people. Understandably so. Some people have really hard lives out there.
I've met plenty of neurotypical people who mirror dwell just as much as people with social anxiety and other things. See, it's not all of us. It's just a weird one that I've heard a lot of. For some reason, it's always really irked me. That one in particular has just always really bugged me, and I can't quite figure out why. It might be because I'm not neurotypical and I have issues. It just seems like a lazy way to label people instead of actually going over and getting to know them, other than they're just the weird kid.
I have some assumptions. I think it helps, with motion sickness, having something static in front of you at all times can help ground you a bit. So if you get easily motion sick, maybe that could be beneficial. So maybe that's why people find comfort in it.
I agree that it is really funny that we spend a ton of money just to fucking sit down and observe a mirror, and I understand the irony in that, and so that's why I'm a little bit more lenient towards trolling and shit, because it's it is ridiculous, but at the same time it's also if you spend the money, if you want it, you spent your own money on it, then who fucking cares what you do with it,
I counter you with a question of my own. Do you prefer personal mirrors or world mirrors?
World mirrors.
That's interesting. I don't have a preference myself.
The reason being, I feel less weird staring at myself in front of a mirror with other people, rather than staring at myself in front of a mirror on a personal mirror. Why are you staring off and making motions at nothing? Oh, sorry. I'm staring at myself in my mirror, and I'll just get a stare for a second.
You want them to see what you're actually doing. That makes sense.
People are also, I feel, much more approachable in front of a mirror, right? I can just silently walk up and listen to people, because my excuse is, oh, I'm staring at myself, right? But also at some point, if I get comfortable, I can talk to them, right? Whereas it's a little bit more weird to walk up to a random group and just stand there and stare at them while they talk before you can finally feel talking.
That's
yourself.
something I've wondered, and I wonder if anyone else is going to mention their answers. I wonder if eye contact has something to do with it. I wonder if it's easier to stare your own character in the eyes than it is to look at somebody else's eyes. Because some people can be weird about that.
I see the mirror as just a tool to help people kind of socialize more in these interactions where there is less physical stimulus and less auditory feedback within VRChat.
Sometimes I feel like people mirror dwell just to watch their full body tracking more easier. At least that's what I do when I'm dancing. But I understand I'm kind of a special case because I don't just sit. I schmoove also.
Honestly, don't knock it till you try it, whether it's quiet time or if you're just bored. Because at some point, mirror dwelling, it's fun to an extent. If you got people around you, why not?
Some people would say, oh, if you're bored, then why not get off the game? What would be a response to that, do you think?
I think it's more of you're not physically bored or anything. It's mostly just you're bored of reality. You would rather be in VRChat with online friends talking about your experience or what you've done for the day with them and actually physically see them and maybe put a voice to not their face but a voice to a face rather than talking into the void and then getting a response back.
Like I said, I didn't even think about the whole eye contact thing until talking to you just now, but I think that might help a lot of people too. It is VR, and you're not actually making eye contact. But it can feel like it. So if you feel that pressure, being able to look away, it's kind of helpful. Yeah. Other than that, I'm not too sure. I think it's like a dying thing. Like, I think personal mirrors have kind of taken over and opened people up. I don't know how much of a problem it is for public worlds to have people doing it. I assume people still do it. From what I've seen, it went from like 100% of all hangouts being in front of a mirror to only a portion of them, and that was mostly due to the personal mirror add-on. Well, people want to see what the fun things are out there. They want to play the pool in every map. Now they have buckshot roulette to play in every map.
You gotta remember, at the end of the day, we're all playing a game. It is a social game, and mirror dwelling, in its own right, is being sociable. So if you see somebody who's in front of a mirror, whether alone or with friends, remember there's another person on the other side of this, and they're just enjoying themselves. Show a little kindness.
Happy, let's just have a good time. Mags, y'all, if you ever want to add me, I don't care, we'll vibe and stuff, so. No toxicity though, no drama. We like to have a good time over here.
There will be some groups of mirror dwellers in Publix that like won't talk to you, or will be like, we'll just like be kind of like weird or like judgy or whatever. Most mirror dwellers that I know aren't like that. So like they're not one of us. We don't claim them. Talk to a mirror dweller today.
I think there's a chance that people who mirror dwell tend to identify quite closely with their models and want to get that immersion. At the same time, they really want to make sure that their character they identify with and present themselves as is presenting in the way they intend and doesn't look off. Checking pose, clipping, and expressions are some of the examples of using mirrors to check on themselves. I managed to find so many interesting people through my time looking for interviewees. Although there are many similarities between responses to my questions, there were also some answers that provided a very unique experience. I'd be willing to bet this could apply to many other mirror dwellers. I suppose one thing that I realized throughout this entire process, in meeting these people and interviewing them, is that while there are certainly similarities in common reasoning, it isn't as black and white. And if I were to reach out to 10 more mirror dwellers for an interview, I could guarantee that I'd find many more unique thoughts about mirror dwelling and topics surrounding it. Many of the people that I encountered were longtime VRChat players, and although some were a bit slower to the punch with the mirror dwelling, most of them fell into it pretty quickly in their VRChat career. Oftentimes, people started mirror dwelling just because friends were doing it. It makes me wonder what mirror dwelling was like back in 2018 compared to now. I can't imagine it was all that big or popular to do. I still can't figure out what started mirror dwelling, or what it was like in the earlier years. If only I could find out what caused the first mirror dwellers to stare endlessly into a mirror, maybe I'd understand the phenomenon a little bit more deeply. For now, I'm left speculation on that one. However, there's a small chance that mirror dwelling in front of a world mirror may become a dying trend as personal mirrors have been added into the game as of 2023, rather than being a modded feature. Yet, I don't believe that mirror dwelling in general will be dying for a long time, even as technology advances and provides us with a wider FOV in the future. Though I asked about it, some people noted that they would likely still mirror dwell even if the FOV was higher, as the reasoning doesn't simply come down to how wide your view is. I especially don't anticipate it dying out unless people were to stop gathering around their friends in front of mirrors. Many people find being in front of mirrors to be a sort of social gathering. A bit different than simply gathering in a circle of friends any old place in the VRChat world. As long as people continue to follow their friends to the mirror, it'll probably still be a trend to sit in front of a mirror for hours on end. Is that really such a bad thing though? I don't know about that one. Considering the reasons people have for mirror dwelling aren't as odd as one might assume from the start, I'm leaning toward maybe not that bad. So many reasons were stated. A large portion of people that I interviewed talked about how mirror dwelling helps them check their expression and fix any possible wardrobe malfunctions or clipping issues. Some even use mirror dwelling to look for visual cues, sometimes to help their immersion. Although in real life you can hear and feel what people are doing to get cues, you don't have those senses as vividly in VR, where you might not hear every little sound that people make. Some said that it was a very heavy social aspect, being able to have a place to gather with friends, while still being able to see large groups without needing to whip your head around to see things. Sometimes it isn't so complicated and a person or a group of friends may just want to sit down and chill for a quiet time activity, especially in the evening, and chat casually with friends. It's especially difficult to make new friends when you don't want to barge in on a conversation after standing awkwardly next to a circle of people, so some people may find it more comfortable to listen in first while sitting nearby in front of a mirror before easing their way in when they find something they can comment comfortably on. There are even dancers who find use out of the mirror, who may choose to dance in front of the mirror and use it to practice, and check how their movement looks. Now, there's a high chance that trolling in VRChat has led to mirror dwellers being less trusting of random people coming up to them, which may be what leads to a bit of a standoffish response. This could come off as pretty rude to people who haven't quite grasped the experience yet, but there's also still a chance that some mirror dwellers may just be rude people. However, I wouldn't say that mirror dwellers correlate with a rude personality, as there have been many kind and welcoming mirror dwellers that I encountered and that others have noted. Basically, some people are just jerks. Still, there is also a chance that the stigma against mirror dwellers and negative feelings toward them may have stemmed from the fact that some mirror dwellers choose to blast music or talk about strange subjects. It's no secret that there is some odd conversation to be had in front of the mirror occasionally, and not everyone is looking to listen to blasting music. Which, by the way, you can now turn someone's volume down to 0 without completely muting them. Thanks, VRChat. Helpful feature. All this to say, the truth of mirror dwelling isn't very concrete. To judge the majority based solely on a few bad apples may not be the most accurate. The main reason for mirror dwelling likely isn't narcissism, but that's not to say that no cases attribute to this. It's just not as cut and dry as we'd like it to be. Overall, judge on a case-by-case basis, and remember that not everyone fits into the mold that we expect them to. Life would be pretty boring if that were true, wouldn't it? Some mirror dwellers are definitely weirdos, but so are a ton of online people in general too. That's about all of my observations. A huge thank you to everyone who agreed to this interview and gave me such deep insight into their mind and the mirror dwelling experience. Another huge thank you to my community for voting on this topic and being so patient with its release. It's been a wild few months and I had a lot of setbacks trying to get this out. This will also be my last project before debuting my new model, so keep an eye open for a bit of a visual change moving forward on my non-VRChat videos. On that note, if you enjoyed this, consider leaving a like. And if you'd like to see me talk about a specific online community or topic, let me know in the comments below or in my Discord server, which will be linked below. Similarly, if you enjoyed the video, let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching. See ya!